Well, here we are in October of 2024. I've not seen my children since. It's hard to comprehend this for many. My son's been withheld over 6 years, and this is against the orders of the Supreme Court for equal shared parenting by consent since 2014, October of. And so where we are now is the use of protection orders in the lower court, Provincial Court of North Vancouver, which, upon talking to the registrar there, the registry staff, is very limited in its judiciary, the circuit, as it were. I mean, I've been told there are only 3 judges there. The same judge, Joanne Challenger, oversaw a ex parte 2 times in a row for the period of 22-23, where it was simply rubber stamped. There was no jurisprudence or fair procedural hearing as such. It was just a matter of the other party ticking the boxes to give the court directive on how to proceed in their complicit actions. Ex partes for women and family court protection orders. Implicit is the fact that they will receive everything that they get and all benefit of the doubt. There will be no being heard by the male, the father, and as such they will be prosecuted and prevented from any semblance of what we deem as an open court system. And so, for example, judiciary, who, to my knowledge, limited as it is as a layperson, is that a judge is a lawyer of some kind for a number of years until such time as they move on up and are appointed eventually to that higher level of judicial legal framework. So you have a form which is a tick box checklist, as I've started to state before. In the provincial level, there's not a need for extensive affidavit or testimony of that nature. A woman can say very little and just be represented by, in the case of the other party, a lawyer of ill repute, a gun for hire, essentially. And so they smear and devastate the other party without even them having the ability in the judicial system to defend themselves. And so this injustice is in fact what we know as a supposed rule of law state of not only Canada but each province, and to a greater or lesser degree depending on the population and so forth. We have traditionally North Vancouver being an itinerant community, which was across the water from the city, and you still have a hold out to that kind of community where I once heard, "Sit down, this is my court," and so that says much. And so does the fact that we have internal relationships within the court that are everything from the conflict of interest one would associate with other professions, where you have judiciary lunching, dining, and perhaps in relationships with those within lower rank and file of the court system. So, for instance, sheriffs, clerks, etc. Now, in getting back to the matter at hand, when you have a 10-year case which has not shown conclusively any kind of level of criminality, prosecution of alleged, hearsay testimony, then that should be reason enough to say, no, you may not have an ex parte. We must hear from the other party on this, especially when it is not even in the jurisdiction or the realm of the claim of the Divorce Act under the federal government, not the provincial government. So when a claim is made in the higher court, that is the jurisdiction of the matter. All matters pertaining to the children are held in the Supreme Court. not in the provincial court. This is simply an area where monetary and remuneration and so forth was the jurisdiction of this particular matter. So now we're into the denial of access by the court system, aiding and abetting a parental alienator of a pretty high magnitude, and one which, who's displayed on multiple occasions, if the affidavits were read, of something akin to a psychopathy and a penchant for not telling the truth, the manipulation of the facts, and also in a systematic and cyclic thing. Every year on my birthday, not a coincidence, the other party takes great pride and joy and maybe a little glee, I would think, to bring about such a painful thing for the children as to deny them their father on his birthday. And you can rest assured they are not aware that it's my birthday. They've been brainwashed otherwise. They don't know when their paternal grandmother was born. They've forgotten her. She's been erased. This is the subject of many documentaries, many of which are not part of the Canadian culture. We tend to be slow and laggards in the area of social equity. And we think we're so woke. Well, quite the opposite. In fact, anyone could argue. I've written Marcy Ian, and I've certainly written Karina Gould on the subject. And there is no equity in Canada. There is no equality. And it's as horseshit. These people have portfolios which are just filler. They're filler. And the current government is essentially just full of it. And they've put these people in place, and they have a certain ideology one they want to put forward, and that is all we get. We don't get equality at all as men. We get misandry, and it's always been thus. So, again, to look at what is asked of a claimant and the issuance of a protection order. Well, I don't have one right in front of me, but I've certainly looked at a number of them over the last 3 years to tell you that, does the father have a firearm? No. Did you call police? No. Did you report this to the MCFD or social workers? No. These are no's, as in the other party and the mother-in-law has checked essentially that even though they're making a claim for protection and quasi-criminal allegations, never have they, in deposition, said that they've even so much as called the police or social worker or any other professional in this realm. Now, why is that? One could ascertain, without having a barrister's background and the station and status of a judge, that this is damn common sense. And to, not even look into that and the relation between the two. Criminal allegation, no contact with police. Any criminal history of the other party? None whatsoever. So it's a fallacy. The entire setup of the denial of access to my children in a lower court with rubber stamps issued year after year is something which is called child abuse. Now, this is the court's undertaking, and they should be held responsible. They should be fined significantly, and so should the other party. And there should be a jail period, a sentence for false allegations, and there should be certainly fair hearing and jurisprudence, which there is not in the land. This is against the Constitution, it's against the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and it stands against every aspect of what we consider to be Canadian. And without this, we can look at this and say, this is not my country. This is a country which is taking our children, claiming it for their own, and denying access based upon one thing, money. That's what this is about, ladies and gentlemen. Money for the coffers of the government. Children are mere chattel, slaves to a system which has been in place just as the Liquor Commission and now, drugs taxed by the government. This is a money grab. These are our children, not the state's. I bid you farewell and wish you all the best. Thank you. Stephen King.